There are concussions that probably occur, probably every series, and the neurological problems that you may have sustained as a result of playing, they don't go away as well. There is a price that you pay for competing in the game. Now, when you play, no one really tells you of that price, but you have to sort of find out on your own.
The brain is sort of the master controller, the master organ of the entire body. So whenever anything happens to it, it can affect the body in any way.
The research on NFL players shows that later in life they're developing symptoms of dementia and depression at a much greater frequency and a much greater rate than in the general population, or compared to other athletes who are retired who had fewer previous concussions.
Now you hear about guys that are dying of dementia. We didn't even know what dementia was. Dementia wasn't invented in the 70s. That's brand new. People were probably having it, but they didn't know what it was. We never even knew what Alzheimer's was in the 70s. But now they're saying all these hits to the brain are causing this stuff.
It's uncommon to see symptoms or signs of dementia in someone in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. That would be early onset, but you would see that in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. But it's uncommon, if not unheard of, in individuals in their late 30s and 40s, and that's the pattern of performance, the pattern of behavior that's come out in several case studies of individuals who started displaying behaviors that aren't consistent with normal functioning.
We also know that athletes tend to underreport for a number of reasons.
In the world of professional sports, while you're teammates, you keep your business to yourself, because your teammate today could be the opposition next week.
Say they're hit, but they're not out, and they go and say something. And then the next time they're really out, that's two, not one. You're in trouble to play anymore.
One, they don't want to miss that playoff. Two, they don't want to disappoint the team. Three, they may have misinformation.
And that is why Commissioner Goodell decided to then step up further and say, hey, wait a minute now. We've got some rules on the books to deal with this. We're just going to enforce them perhaps a little bit more aggressively than we have in the past.
Now, there's a lot of new rules going into play. No helmet to helmet. No helmet to anywhere, pretty much, in the face. You got to be careful. Your helmet is a weapon.
Had it not been for the internet and people being able to communicate with one another and stay in touch with one another, now I think people are starting to put things together. The NFL has been forced to deal with this situation that I saw coming about 15, 20 years ago.
The NFL does not want anybody to die. The NFL does not want anybody to have concussions. Nobody is bigger than the NFL. If you got 3 of these things, I think you're gone anymore. But they're protecting your players, and it's probably a good thing.
There's a tremendous number of players who have sustained several concussions and have either ended their career on time or ended their career early. These individuals had their brains donated for research that was done at the Boston University Center for the Study of Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy, which is often known as CTE. And in these cases, their brains looked like the brains of 80 and 90-year-old individuals in terms of the shrinking of the brain and the presence of certain proteins in the brain called tau proteins that don't otherwise exist in the brain.
There are a number of players who have donated their brains to science. As they donate their brains, that's fine for future generations. What I'm looking for is what can be done right now to help players who are dealing with these issues right now. So I've really become not just an advocate, I've become a mentor for a lot of guys. There's a young man who I've just met the other day, and he played football from the age of 7, and now he's 24, and he's having some problems. And so I'm sort of working with him to let him know that he's not by himself. And I think, guys who have played in the league, I think many of them probably think that they are all alone. And the reality is they're not, because there are a lot of other guys who are dealing with the same issues.
There's going to be a death in football pretty soon. It's inevitable. I got a kid who's 17 years old. I hope it's not him. For all the fathers that might be watching this, our sons love it. They love the game. They love to be strong. They love to lift weights. They love to play on the edge. They love all the TV. They love the guys dancing. They love the guys, you know, making money, you know, playing a game they love. It's a risky thing. It's the risk you take. I hope my son, nothing ever happens to him. It's the luck of the draw. We all have to keep thinking that our kid's going to get the luck of the draw.